Mr. Hart, you recite the facts of the case of Hawkins versus McGee. I do have your name right. You are Mr. Hart.
Yes, my name is Hart.
Mr. Hart, you're not speaking loud enough. You speak up.
Yes, my name is Hart.
You are still not speaking loud enough, Mr. Hart. You stand. Now, Mr. Hart, now that you're on your feet, the class will be able to understand you. You are on your feet?
Yes, sir, I'm on my feet.
Loud. Fill the classroom with your intelligence. Now, would you give us the facts of the case?
I haven't read the case.
The class assignments for the first day are posted on the bulletin boards of Smith and Wilson Halls. You must have known that.
No, sir.
You assumed that the first class would be a lecture, an introduction to the course.
Yes, sir.
Never assume anything in my classroom. Now, Mr. Hart, I will myself give you the facts of the case. Hawkins versus McGee is a case in contract law, the subject of our study. A boy burned his hand on an electric wire, and a doctor who wanted to experiment in skin grafting offered to operate on the hand, guaranteeing that he would restore it 100%. He removed a piece of skin from the boy's chest and grafted it onto the unfortunate boy's hand. The operation failed to produce a healthy hand. Instead, it produced a burned and hairy hand. A hand that was not only burned, but covered with dense, matted hair. Now, Mr. Hart, what sort of damages do you think the doctor should pay? All right, let's start again. What did the doctor promise?
There was a promise to fix the hand back the way it was before it was burned, to make it normal again.
And the result of the operation?
Well, the hand was much worse than before he went to the doctor.
So, the boy got less than he was promised. He got even less than he had when the operation started. How do you think the court should measure the damages? What should the doctor pay?
Well, the doctor should pay for what he did. He should pay the difference between what the boy had, a burned hand, and what the doctor gave him, a burned and hairy hand.
Mr. Hart, you may sit down. You see this? This is a shroud, Mr. Hart. A shroud. A burial garland. A winding sheet for the dead. This is for you, Mr. Hart. The late Mr. Hart. Study of law is something new and unfamiliar to most of you. unlike any other studies that you have ever gone through before. Here we use the Socratic method. I call on you, I ask you a question, and you answer it. Why don't I just give you a lecture? Because through my questions, you learn to teach yourselves. By this method of questioning, answering, we seek to develop in you the ability to analyze that vast complex of facts that constitute the relationships of members within any given society. Now, you may think at times that you have reached a correct and final answer. I assure you, this is a delusion on your part. You will never, in my classroom, reach the final, correct, and ultimate answer. In my classroom, there is always another question. There is always a question to follow your answer. You are on a treadmill here. My little questions spin the tumblers of your brain. You are on an operating table. My little questions are fingers probing your mind. We do brain surgery here. You teach yourselves the law, and I train your minds. You come in here with a skull full of mush, send you out thinking like a lawyer. Now will you recite the case of Stewart versus Rutner? Mr. Brooks.
In this case, Mrs. Stewart sued Dr. Rudner for a breach of contract to deliver her baby by cesarean section. She asserted that the child would not have died had Dr. Rudner performed said contract and so delivered the baby. The jury agreed with her and awarded damages of $5,000.
We're off to a very poor start.
But how can I have a dialogue with you if you won't call on me? My name's Hart. Hart, don't you recognize me?
Mr. Hart, I teach hundreds of students every day, tens of thousands every year, millions over the past 40 years. I cannot be expected to recognize everyone.
But you shrouded me.
Ah, yes, the late Mr. Hart.
Yeah, I know I wasn't prepared, but I didn't think you'd start in the first case right away. I thought you'd lecture. And besides, I just got here from Minnesota, and I had to find a job, and they put me to work the very day I applied, and I didn't have myself organized. And my mother gave me a brand new alarm clock, and it was defective, and it didn't go off, and I just... Please give me another chance, Professor Kingsfield. Please, don't keep me shrouded all year long.
Mr. Hart, you are no longer in high school or in college. You're in a professional school, a law school, where there is no room for error. It is my obligation to prepare my students to exist in the most competitive of all worlds, where there is also no room for error. Good day, Mr. Hart.
But, Professor Kingsfield...
Mr. Hart, can you imagine a lawyer who goes into court unprepared, and after he's lost his case, goes crawling to the judge's chambers to beg for forgiveness, to ask the judge to give him another chance? Good day, Mr. Hart. Good day.
Where's Hart?
I don't know.
Look at that.
Will you give us the facts? Facts, Clark versus Marsiglia. Mr. Schwartz.
Clark versus Marsiglia is a case that came before the Supreme Court of New York in 1845. Marsiglia sued Clark for work, labor, and materials in cleaning, repairing, and improving sundry paintings belonging to the defendant. The plaintiff proved that a number of paintings were delivered by the defendant to him to clean and repair at certain prices for each.
Very good, Mr. Schwartz. Will you continue, please, with the facts? Mr. Hart. Mr. Hart? Mr. Hart! The rest of the facts, Mr. Hart.
The paintings were delivered upon 2 occasions. As to the first parcel, for the repairing of which the price was $75, no defense was offered. In respect to the other parcel, for which the plaintiff charged $165, the defendant gave evidence tending to show that after the plaintiff had commenced work upon them, he desired him not to go on, as he had concluded not to have the work done. The plaintiff, notwithstanding, finished the cleaning and repairing of the pictures, and claiming to recover for doing the whole and for the materials furnished, insisting that the defendant had no right to countermand the order for which he had given. The defendant's counsel requested the court to charge that he had the right to countermand his instructions for the work, and that the plaintiff could not recover for any work done after such countermand.